Hey guys, you're watching Matt the Musketeer, and today I want to discuss with you the future of Battlefield. Now this is quite an open-ended question, so all your comments are just as valid as each other, so I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. I want to hear your ideas about what you think is going to happen to Battlefield in the future, because nobody can really tell. I mean, obviously, unless you have the power to see the future. So I see this as a big chance to have a good discussion with you guys. Leave me your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Now the reason I want to discuss this is because a lot of you guys on Twitter and on Facebook and in the YouTube comments have been asking me to put my thoughts across of what is going to happen to Battlefield in the future. Of course, we have Battlefield 4 coming up in only about 3 months' time, and then we don't even know yet if there is going to be a Bad Company 3 or if it's just going to stick with the Battlefield series. Of course, Medal of Honor has now gone out of rotation from EA. So are we going to see Bad Company series kind of come into rotation instead of Medal of Honor? So we're going to see a Battlefield game followed by a Bad Company game? Or are EA and DICE just going to concentrate on Battlefield in the future, and that is the only series we're going to see from Battlefield and DICE in the future? Now, of course, Medal of Honor wasn't made by DICE, but it is owned by EA, who also own the Battlefield titles. And originally, their plan was to have a rotating system of a Battlefield game 1 year and a Medal of Honor game the next, to try and compete with Call of Duty having a Treyarch game 1 year and an Infinity War game the next, having different studios working on games constantly to have a rotating system and bring out one game every single year. Now, of course, Medal of Honor Warfighter was a massive flop. It got low reviews pretty much instantly, and within maybe a month and a half, that game was pretty much dead. The player counts were down, and the servers were down. So EA have now taken that game out of rotation. That's been used for quite a long time now. But it does beg the question, well, what is going to replace Medal of Honor in that annual slot that is now available? If EA still want to keep up the system of having one pretty big first-person online shooter game coming out every single year, if Battlefield's only going to be coming out every other year, what is going to fill that slot? Now, of course, some people are still begging and wishing to see Bad Company 3 back in rotation, and now there is a new DICE studio in Los Angeles. That's made people think, well, maybe now there's two studios, two games are going to be worked on at once. Maybe one can be working on Bad Company 3, whilst one is working on Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, and so on. But now, of course, we know that DICE is going to be working on Star Wars Battlefront. So this now brings up a new opportunity that maybe Star Wars Battlefront could be filling in that gap between the Battlefield games. And which would I rather see? I honestly can't say. I do have a lot of love for the Bad Company series, and I know a lot of people out there are really hoping to see Bad Company 3 become a reality. But I think if Bad Company 3 were to come out, it wouldn't be the game everyone was hoping for. People loved Bad Company 2 because it's an older engine to Battlefield 3, and it does feel a little bit more arcadey and not quite as intense as Battlefield 3. But I think if Bad Company 3 were to come out on the Frostbite 3 engine, I think it would be really hard to distinguish it from the Battlefield games. It would feel no different from Battlefield 4 on the Frostbite 3 engine. A first-person modern-day shooter on the same engine is going to be very hard to distinguish from the original game. So I think if Bad Company 3 were to become a reality, it just would feel like a DLC, for example, for Battlefield 4. There wouldn't be enough distinction between the games. Now, of course, Star Wars Battlefront, on the other hand, that is a whole different ball game. This is a whole different game entirely. So I think just for the sake of variation, I would prefer to see Star Wars Battlefront in an annual rotation alongside the Battlefield series. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Now this brings me on to my second topic. I know a lot of people are worried that EA are now going to try and produce a Battlefield game every 2 years, going for quantity over quality to try and compete with Call of Duty. Now, of course, Battlefield 3 was in production for 3 or 4 years. We saw the brand new Frostbite 2 engine built from the ground up, completely replacing the original Frostbite 1 engine. Now, of course, with Battlefield 4 we are seeing the Frostbite 3 engine, but this isn't a complete rebuild. This is a tweak and an upgrade of the existing engine. Now, whilst this is still leaps and bounds more effort into production than we do see with the Call of Duty series, still using the same engine on Call of Duty Ghosts as they did on Call of Duty 4 almost 6 years ago, people are starting to say that this is the first signs that EA and DICE are now starting to cut corners to get those Battlefield games out there much quicker. Now, personally, I don't agree with that. From what we've seen of Battlefield 3 so far, with the new aspects of Levolution and more destruction in the game, and Commander Mode, and 5-man squads, and a whole range of new weapons and vehicles, I think Battlefield 4 is going to be a really great standalone game. It's not going to be this Battlefield 3.5 that a lot of people are suspecting. So if DICE can keep up this level of ingenuity in every new Battlefield game in the series, I am more than happy to see a game released every 2 years. But then there is the worrying prospect that a game can run out of original ideas and ingenuity. All you have to do is take a look at the Call of Duty series, which brings out a game once every year for the last 6 years. And you can see that the last couple of games have been very similar, if not identical. And as the developers begin to run out of ideas to freshen up the series and make the games feel new, they start to stray from the original format that made the game so great in the first place. So this is something I do worry about Battlefield a little bit. Whilst I do have more confidence in the DICE production team than I do in Infinity Ward and Treyarch, I do worry that if they bring out a game every 2 years, it's not going to be long before they start to run out of ideas, and we do see carbon copy games being released year in, year out. But these are just my thoughts and concerns. Once again, it's down to you guys. As I said at the start, I want this to be an open discussion. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. What are your thoughts and opinions? Do you want to see more Battlefield games released? Do you want to see it try and compete more heavily with Call of Duty? Or would you rather the games were released when they were ready and not every 2 years, just when Battlefield was complete? So tell me in the comments below. And don't forget guys, if you did enjoy this video, please give me a comment and a like. It does help me out so much. But in the meantime guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.